All right, I've got my stuff closed here too, except for our Google Hangouts. Welcome everybody who's joining us. I'm RJ Carter. I'm the author of The Destroyer Bully Pulpit and The Destroyer Continental Divide. I'm also a senior editor at criticalblast.com. And with me today, I have a new channel starting up on YouTube. Everybody want to make sure to get out there and subscribe to Adam's channel, Arch City Comics. Adam, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Adam AF. I am the curator at Arch City Comics. We're just getting off the ground, but I would appreciate if you'd all subscribe, ring that bell. There's not a lot of content there yet, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, and we're just kind of meeting up. We've apparently shared stomping grounds, crossed paths in cities without knowing we've maybe even seen each other. But we have both been privy to a comic book. And we're going to use that term loosely. Something called Astonishing Gators by Chloe Handler. Now, I know nothing about Chloe Handler. I've seen nothing published by her before. I'm not even sure that it's a real name. It's not maybe a pseudonym, which, yeah, hey, something like this, I wouldn't blame them. But Adam, I want to first start talking about the whole concept of this kind of a book, which is to satirize real people, and whether or not these are considered public figures now is up for debate. If you're making fun of the president, he's a public figure. If you're making fun of a guy who wrote a comic book, well, at what point do you become a public figure, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of hard to define, I'd say, in this day and age.
Yeah, if you're a YouTube celebrity, I suppose with 50,000, 100,000 subscribers, maybe you've turned yourself into a public figure. But either way, this is let's be upfront. This book's a personal attack against people that they simply didn't like, and this was sort of a jab at them to sort of make a parody. Usually parodies are a lot funnier. But
yes.
I'm getting ahead of myself. There's some good stuff in here. Really, there is. I mean, some of this art's pretty nice. The colors pop in places. So I don't want to just come out here and say, hey, we're blasting the whole thing. We're blasting the whole thing. But it's fun. But, I tried to think of a time when either DC or Marvel might have jabbed at each other in their own books. And all I could come up with was when they jabbed at each other's characters. You're familiar with Squadron Supreme, I'm sure, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That whole thing was, hey, let's rip off the Justice League, and it turned out to be a pretty darn good book.
Yeah, it actually did. But there was actually a lot more context. Those characters, the DC side, those are, whether you read them or not, they're still known. These aren't like hideaway characters, kind of like some of the Comicsgate heroes that are in Astonishing Gators here.
Exactly. You've got a real difficult chore to introduce these people to introduce these characters to people who aren't familiar with the everyday workings of Comicsgate, who aren't on Twitter 24/7, 5 days a week, watching everything go down and getting into the back and forth of it all. So I'm going to just bring up my screen share here, see how this works.
Yeah, and I actually think that's kind of why I'm probably a decent person to review this book, because I've actually only been in the Comicsgate scene for about 4 months now, 4 or 5 months. So, I'm relatively new to the entire scene, so I've definitely not been there from the beginning. I don't know every single detail that's gone on. And it definitely made some parts of this book go, wait, what is she talking about? Okay, yeah, I do remember somebody referencing something to that effect one time. So some of the jokes and some of the jabs are, it's a bit of a stretch, especially like you said, for a normie reader. Let's call it, let's refer to them like that. Somebody who's not invested into all of this, it'd be a real hard sell to an outsider.
Absolutely. Now, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Oh, awesome. Fantastic. So this is the cover to Astonishing Gators. And we have the classic secondary colors on the villain, who is the puppet master. And if you don't know who this is supposed to be, this is a character called Van Scribbler, Stephen Van Scribbler. Obviously a rip on Ethan Van Sciver. And he is presented here as the puppet master of, I'm just going to call him Mike Miller, Richard C. Meyer, Yellow Flash, and the character is called Boob Girl, but her name is Bobby June. She's a religious person, and I can't help but think that this is supposed to be some sort of a jab at Edwin Boyette's wife, who has had her own run-ins with the anti-Comicsgate crowd. So,
which, if that's the case, that's an awful low blow right there.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that.
You got Ethan, Mike, Zach. Those guys are prolific figureheads within the Comicsgate community. Whereas Edwin's wife, that's family that should be left alone. That should not be touched at all.
Well, yeah, and I can see where an argument could be made. Well, she got herself involved in it. I haven't seen her involved that much, but she's coming to the defense of her husband most of the time, basically.
Exactly.
And I can't see anything wrong with that. I'll get into the names of the characters here as we go on. The art here is not horrible. This is sufficient for, if you had a sign shop and you wanted to advertise, a church bazaar coming up here. You had that kind of style. It's, hey, we got an extra person.
Yeah, that's Lincoln. He's kind of joining us on stream today.
Cool. We'll introduce him to that umbrella girl later. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, they could be internet buds.
So, but it's a clean style, flattering. It's meant to be. It's not quite as far as Mad Magazine would take something like it, but there they are. Those are some of the main characters of the book. And
I could not imagine seeing this sitting on a comic shelf.
I have seen worse. I have to say that, but usually you see them there in a far corner where nobody goes because they've migrated that far out, and then they end up in the quarter bin. So we get 2 covers apparently with this because nobody asked for it, and we end up in. Now this is a nice scene here, actually. It's Nebraska. Why, I don't know, because nobody I know of in Comicsgate actually came from Nebraska. But what we've got here is Harry S. Palmer. That is the name given to whom we know to be Zach, your boy Zach here. And he's writing something very prosaic and something very bland, which is obviously they're trying to jab his storytelling in iron sights. I think that's even what they're trying to make this art style look like, was the style they were jabbing at iron sights. Unfortunately, they kind of made it come out a little bit more like Black AF, Devil's Die, which was worse.
And what's up with the proportions on Harold there? Like, why does he has no hips? He goes straight from torso right to legs.
Yeah, he looks like a He-Man and the Masters of the Universe action figure.
Yeah.
He just gets right down there. It's like you could press on those abs and his head would flip around or something.
Oh, we need a Zach
actually writes in Spanish. That we need. We need somebody to start a Comicsgate store up and just make action figures of everybody.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
It'd be extra cool is if they actually looked like the Astonishing Gators.
I mean, yeah, why not? They hate when we monetize them, so.
Absolutely. I can't remember his name now. Model 3 something. Get on that. Get out there and do that. Obviously, Boob Girl's boobs are shifting in over the place because, that's It's the joke. We can't draw women in real proportions because we're focused on the boobs. And of course, Zach, who lives in southern Texas, can't speak Spanish, obviously. So, blah, blah, blah. He makes it to the comic book shop. Why, we don't know. There's a knock at the door, and he's just suddenly gone to the comic book shop. That's a jump that makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, and I don't understand why they. I don't understand why the shop is why is the sea falling?
Because it's a good question. I don't know. It must be the kind of shop he would go to. All this double page spread.
They're trying to it's like a hole in the wall store, I guess. Is what they're going for. I guess I didn't really notice the first time around. Like there's kind of like the building's kind of decrepit, and there's cracks, and I did
cracks
actually
in
miss
the sidewalk.
I missed that the first time around.
What are these posts in the sidewalk here? Is that supposed to be to tether your horse to in southern Texas?
Yeah, it's for the drunk drivers so they don't smash into the front of the building.
Oh, that works. That works. And he's got this kind of Punisher war journal thing going on here. They've taken over the comic book industry, destroying a hobby I once loved so much. Who am I? I'm Harold S. Palmer. My friends call me Harry. That was funny in third grade.
Yeah. I'm Harry Palmer. Come on.
Oh, I write comics, really, really good comics. I write gooder than any comic book writer. And all of a sudden, his little hole-in-the-wall store is, my gosh, it's sectioned books into LGBTQ, women, and the big two are just shoved to the back. Now, I don't know any comic book company that or any comic book store that segregates to that degree. At the best, they're happy if they can figure out which books are the all ages books so they don't get their ass sued off and put them in the right section.
Yeah, my store does not have it's not sectioned off like this. They do have a small little like a cardboard pop-up that does have a couple LGBT graphic novels, like the the couple benefit books that they did. It does have those kind of sectioned out, but other than that, everything else is just together.
That's how it's supposed to be. We're all together. And what do we got here? We got looks like obviously a pastiche of Ironheart. We really worked on that one. The Impenetrable Sun Ray. Not sure who that's supposed to be. Renpool, Blue Hair Don't Care. We know who that is. It's Guinea Pig Girl, Soira, Transgender Power, Just Girl. I don't know who that was, but she's an important character in this.
Oh yeah, super important.
White Knight, who never appears.
Yeah, and that's amazing. We don't ever see another appearance from White Knight. He's just
this is him.
He's there. There he is. He's on the shelf, but he does not make another appearance, or at least he doesn't speak. He might be in the background somewhere.
And Social Justice Spider, very, very wise of them to take off the hyphen man from the SJW Spider-Man character that they're obviously turning into a hero in this book.
Yeah, and Soira also I thought was pretty. It was awfully close to what She-Ra looks like.
Yeah, I think they get away with parody on this one, but the drawing is very close. They should have could have deviated a little bit more on that. I mean,
just a little bit. Not a whole lot of creativity in this, though. So
no, there's not. And Zach, who answered the door and ends up in a comic book store for reasons we don't know why, now has some sort of attack where he hulks out.
Yeah.
And then we're just living the current day, and here he is talking. This is obviously now a rip on the interview he did. Which went on, what was that, the Comedy Channel, yeah?
Yes, I believe that's right.
And they got, I don't know, man, they got Captain Incel. Why? Okay, for those listening who don't know what incel is, and they just see the word thrown out there all the time as like this brand new insult, it's a portmanteau of involuntary celibate. And it's basically the old high school insult of, oh, you can't get laid.
Yeah, you're a basement dweller.
Yeah, nobody wants to have sex with you. And everything that comes from this philosophy, when they want to insult somebody, there's the ad hominem, and then there's the ad sexualist. Whatever the Greek word for sex is, I didn't bother to look it up, but they just attack your ability to have a relationship.
Yeah, and that is every argument that I've ever had with an SJW on Twitter is it's immediate. Oh, well, you don't ever get laid.
Yeah.
Well, I do. I'm married. I have a kid. He was just over here.
My kid's upstairs.
And you really shouldn't be concerned with my sex life anyhow. I don't really see why that's a topic of discussion. But hey, worry about what you want to worry about, I guess.
But here he is, and apparently when he went into his white cishet rage that made him destroy a comic book 2 years ago, yeah, that was a bad idea. Okay, that's the line that we take away from the interview. Everybody took that away and memed the hell out of it. I'm going to skip past a lot of this here.
Yeah, because there. Did you notice the absurd amount of backhole in this book?
Yeah.
There is draw there. It's just this image shows up all over this book. They are really proud of this this backhole.
Yeah. It took me, I'm sorry to say, a while to get it because I just wasn't looking for that. There, supposed to be sun rays thing, and I'm going to guess that's Robbie Rodriguez's self-portrait that they put in here.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. That's a good possibility.
I'm guessing it has to be. So Robbie should get some royalties out of this thing. We got the blue-haired Renpool. She's at the bar from Deadpool. It even looks like the bartender, and she's going to go out and shove the needle.
Yeah, almost anytime Renpool appears, it's a ripoff of the Deadpool movie.
Oh yeah, everything in here is a ripoff.
Yeah, like I said, there's really not a whole lot of originality in this at all.
So here we see him. This is Captain Incel here. Comes and meets. I don't know who the guy in the TV screen is. He never appears again after this scene. We've got, obviously, Ro Kabir is a...
Cyber Ro. I love Cyber Ro. He is my favorite part of this entire book, actually.
Uncle Steven and what do they call Yellow Flash in this one?
Yellow Shower.
Yellow Shower. They couldn't even go with Golden Shower. They had to keep Yellow in.
Yeah, Yellow Shower. Later on, it does reveal his name is IP Freely.
Lovely.
Yes.
He's got a brother, Rusty Bedsprings, who works at night. And they're cutting the heads off of Rose Tico dolls. Let's just call them what they are. And I'll give them props for this. This whole scene is the Jabba the Hutt scene with Luke Skywalker. So they've got Ethan Van Sciver portraying Jabba the Hutt, laying there with Cyber Ro as his little flunky.
Yeah, credit where credit's due. I love this scene. This is a good scene in this book. It is actually on the comical side.
It makes me wonder though how Steven Van Scribbler becomes the puppet master if he's the one recruited by but we can't ask him to make too much sense.
We'll just put that down as a plot hole.
Well, we're going to call plot holes. We're going to have enough gravitational pull here to suck the planet in. I'm skipping way ahead, scrolling while it's still white. And what do we got here? We got Renpool showing up because all these bots, look at the bots. They want to, they're shouting, debate me, debate me, debate me. And they've invaded the customer, and the comic book shop scared off the customers, and they're going to take a knife to La Defenders. LA Defenders, I guess. So that would be, oh, look at that cover. I've seen that cover.
Mm-hmm.
Yellow Flash is obviously the one who is known for taking the knife to the covers. Notice,
Yep, there's that back hole again.
there it is again. Good thing it's impenetrable.
Oh, it is. It is an impenetrable back hole. That's right.
It looks like it's been penetrated.
Clench, brothers, clench.
Oh my gosh. It's the totally original character, Renpool. And he's saying, debate me. And she says, I'm sure you're a master debater, which is cringe third grade insult as it is. But just in case we didn't get it, she has to say, minus the D.
Yeah, they really got to make sure they drive home that joke, don't they?
This, whoever Chloe Handler is, she knows her audience and knows that SJWs do not have a sense of humor. So it's got to be explained to them and spelled out to them. Oh, I just turned the viewer on my phone so I can see if we had any activity in the chat here. And I see Supergirl is out there. Hey, Supergirl. Thanks for tuning in. Share us out there. Let people know we're here so they don't have to come catch us later.
Yes, please. Please share us out.
Again, the artwork here is not horrible. I call it serviceable when it's not horrible. It allows for certain angularities of pose. We really get into some IKEA instruction manual poses later in the book, but these are more fluid than that. And this is actually kind of funny here that she's going to go attack this bot with her cosplay sword.
Yeah, this was another decent scene.
Forgot it wasn't real. And they've got real knife apparently. So I want to find the one scene in here where, for whatever reason, oh look, she's leaving a back hole for Stephen Von Scribbler.
Yeah, and this was another direct ripoff, essentially, of the Deadpool movie, where she's sitting on the where he's sitting on the freeway, doodling, and before he drops down onto the street.
Exactly. She's always breaking the fourth wall here too. Okay, yeah, here it's Harry Palmer going into the fertility clinic to make a deposit. And he can't make it happen with this comic book with Carl Manvers in it. Because she has no boobs and the ink's coming off of my hands. And playing in the background that nobody knows, but somebody thought was funny, and we get the little mushroom guy. So.
Yeah, this was a totally unnecessary scene.
Totally unnecessary, but this was all set up for this. He leaves the deposit there and gets punched in the face and flies through the air and lands in what? A dumpster. Whose dumpster? Property. It's a cum dumpster full of infectious waste.
With the back hole.
Oh my God. With the back hole spray painted on it. Who watches the back hole? So obviously, the biggest thing people have against Zach is the dark roast, which he has mea culpa'd over many times, and in which he called one young editor a cum dumpster, trying to be an edgelord, and no one lets it go. But they managed to get him back. This is karmic. They threw him in the cum dumpster.
Yeah, that'll teach him. We got him back.
Oh, I heard you were making fun of trans people, Harry. And this is classic too. Renpool, I should have guessed you were behind all of this. And in classic Twitter format, it's always me. I had nothing to do with this. I'm just here for the comments. I did nothing at all. I was very, very just asking questions.
This is the most honest part in this entire book, actually. Is her response to this? Oh no, I'm not doing anything. I'm just here for the comments. No, I didn't start nothing. Classic Red.
And actually, in this scene, she didn't start anything. She was just there. But it starts the team up, And here we introduced Liar Toad, half human, half toad, half cyborg. Oh, that's 150% human, man. That's cool.
That is cool. I told him, man, Liar Toad's my favorite. I think he needs his own book.
He needs his own action figure, that's for sure. And
that
I
is
bet
for
we
sure.
can make one of those. I bet we can make one of those real fast. Just get one of those Cyber Toad figures and pop a row head on it. Get a old Obi-Wan Kenobi head and paint it black.
I do have a buddy that makes, he does those custom action figures.
I knew somebody once who did 3D printing, and in fact, I have a 3D print of myself that I got at a convention in minifigure format, like for
That's
Dungeons and
awesome.
Dragons. Had it painted up and everything, and my wife said, "Okay, I'm going to put this somewhere where it's safe." I'm like, "Well, it's a toy." And I took it to work and showed it off, and I brought it back. She said, "Okay, I'm going to put this somewhere where it's safe, where you can't find it." I'm like, "What the hell?"
She hid your toy from you?
She hid my toy from me. So it's in the storage unit now somewhere because we're living in the hotel at the moment, which I'll talk about at length later.
Always fun.
Oh, God. Got to get out of here. Yellow Shower, a man with superhuman urination powers, which we find out later aren't necessarily so superhuman, apparently. BJ, the Boob Wonder. My name is Bobby June. Only person who calls her BJ is her father because rednecks, they're incested, aren't they?
Yeah, we know all about that in the Midwest here. We're all incestuous incels.
Exactly.
My wife's actually my sister.
Really?
Yeah.
My wife came from Arkansas. I had to go get born again in Arkansas so that she could be my sister before they let me marry her.
Oh, good for you.
Stephen Von Scribbler, a.k.a. Puppet Man, master manipulator of sock puppets. Oh, yes, because everyone believes that all the other Comicsgate people out there who aren't accounted for are actually Ethan Van Sciver running other accounts. Like he has the time for that. He's busy enough with his own.
Right. Yeah. That's what he does when he's on the toilet. Is he jumps on all of his sock puppet accounts and he trolls people.
Oh, exactly. So I better scroll, because I don't want to get a copyright strike. This is a decent sized book, so
yeah, it was like 69 total pages, I think.
Yeah, it was
69.
So here's the climax, no pun intended, where Stephen Van Scribbler, has shown up with Cyber Octopus. Now, this octopus was the progeny of the sperm sample that he picked up while Captain Incel was fighting off the anti-gators, which means there was really no reason for Captain Incel to go there. He could have just delivered it directly. I don't know. But this octopus gets the better of the gators, and Scribbler's like, "I will be the greatest comic artist of all time." You're one of them, Uncle Ethan. You are.
Yes, you are.
Fantastic stuff. And then, of course, I swear half the dialogue was straight cut and paste from Twitter.
Yes, yeah. Like a lot of the jokes and a lot of the dialogue is just like, "Ooh, she got a burn on Twitter. Let's copy and paste that and use that in the book because we can't think of anything else original."
So the only people who are really enjoying this are us, because we at least get the reference where it came from.
Yeah.
And she's, she cuts off a leg of the Hydra, and it grows back. So I left my flamethrower at home, blah, blah, blah. And now you will die. And said, no, this is the part where the writer introduces a Deus Ex Machina to put a stop to your insidious plan, which is exactly what happens.
Right on cue.
Unicorn. And where did the unicorn come from? Just Girl. Oh, much to Stephen Von Scribbler's surprise, a new hero enters the fray. It was obvious he was not ready to deal with Just Girl. Hell, the planet was not ready for Just Girl. In fact, Just Girl's home planet was not ready for Just Girl. She would have to find a planet that was ready for her. Until then, Just Girl would have to call this planet home.
Yeah, and I don't understand any of that.
I have no idea who they're supposed to be making a copy of here. She says nothing. Is she Fearless Girl?
I think I honestly think she's just supposed to be a representation of like the females in comic books.
Well, that she is, because she's powerful and 12, which is apparently all we can get from that section. And she takes her magic powers, and as the gators go into attack, they're stopped in their path
By Just Girl.
And turned into frogs. She turned them all into frogs. And they're a rainbow of frogs.
It is a pretty rainbow.
It is a pretty rainbow. This one here looks a little phallic.
It does. Yes, quite so, actually.
Why did she turn them into kittens or penguins? And of course,
they were frogs the whole time.
They were always frogs. Here, I'll give you the frogs to the princess, and then I'm going to ride my unicorn. And let's go get milkshakes. Oh.
The end.
Oh.
Yeah.
The end. So.
This was hard to get through when I read this last night. I had to pour myself a couple drinks.
I was going to say, what bottle did you turn to?
I am a strong believer in American Honey by Wild Turkey.
Very good, very good. I just went straight for a Miller Lite.
Oh, very nice.
I had a couple of those in the fridge that were just waiting for a special occasion like this. So, overall thoughts on this. Art was good in a lot of places. And by good, I mean serviceable, not good as in publishable. I can see them actually taking this comic and removing the color layer and having a pretty decent coloring book and remarketing as that. Saying, hey, get your Astonishing Gators coloring book so that other people can pull it into Microsoft Paint and do just as good a job.
Yeah, the coloring was very flaccid.
Very. Yes, I see what you did there. Speaking of which, man, my overall thought about just concept and writing, this was a personal attack. It was meant to be a personal attack. What it ended up with being is this is 4-color masturbation. It was not productive of anything, and it didn't make anybody feel good except Chloe Handler.
And Ren.
And Ren, who, hell, for all we know, Ren and Chloe Handler might be the same person. I don't know.
Very true, because I tried to look her up and found nothing anywhere about her, and I am, of course, blocked on her Twitter, which big surprise there.
Unsurprising. Yeah, everybody has to have 3 Twitter accounts these days. One that does absolutely nothing but read, so that it doesn't make any activity that might get it blocked.
Exactly.
You can't follow anybody with it. It's got to be, just me, myself, and I. What was your overall take on this?
Like I said, the art wasn't awful. It was average. It definitely looked like, I don't know, it was done mostly by just like a computer program, like a 3D program, and they just traced over it. But the story itself, there really wasn't any. It was just a lot of, shots at Comicsgate, shots at Zach and Ro and Uncle E. It didn't really go anywhere. And the climax wasn't even, it was very anticlimactic.
It was a bunch of punchlines in search of a joke.
Yeah, and they never quite found the joke by the end of it.
No sense of humor.
Yeah, so good effort. I don't know. I think I might have taken a little more time with it. In this kind of market, that's the whole point, is you can take your time and actually produce a great comic book instead of just a mediocre one, which is kind of what they did. They just went the mediocre route.
Yeah, I mean, you get the taste of the humor right here on this back cover. Never mind the whole evolution picture here. Kind of clever there. We get that. That's nice use of the meme with the trope. But the year is 2016. Things suck. That means things really suck. It's up to Harry S. Palmer and his ragtag group of self-proclaimed superheroes, the Gators, to set things right. Unfortunately, they have the combined IQ of a box of rocks. Pause a beat. Actually, a box of rocks is more intelligent.
But
Oh. Wah, wah. And then we get the quotes on the back. I like they got Robophibian. They got Ro down perfect here. The pictures shine, sparkle like Caesar's eyes. So they've copied his format.
that actually was pretty. That was a good one too. I liked that little insert there
They could have
from
done more with him.
Robophibian.
Yeah, all his dialogue was always beheadings. Well, can you tell us a little bit more? I mean, they do make a haiku or something out of his dialogue balloons. But no, it got in the way of finishing the book on time, I guess. And this thing sold. Do you know how many this sold?
I had looked at it at one time, but I couldn't tell you what it was now.
I think the Etsy shop has sold 10 of them. I'm not sure how much money it actually pulled in. I will say this, it's a crowdfunding economy, and it made just as much as it deserved to make.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take that off of there now.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Having to live through that again was a little traumatic.
Oh man, I'm sorry. We'll have
It was just a big swing and a miss, in my opinion. You know, I mean, kudos for the effort. You tried, but you just didn't produce anything substantial enough. And the fact that, it's only funny to a group of 10 SJWs on Twitter and us in Comicsgate who can laugh at it and not with it.
Exactly.
It's a big miss.
Well, do you think that somebody else might come along and do something better on this line? I mean,
I could see somebody possibly trying. Honestly, at this point, though, I don't think anybody would. I don't want to say Comicsgate has won, but we're doing our own thing. They can take pot shots at us and do whatever they want and attack us. It's not going to do anything, though. It's not going to have any effect on us.
No, and honestly, the ones that who are in the anti-Comicsgate, for lack of a better term, we have to use that. The ones with any talent, well, they're too busy to waste time on something like this.
Yeah, they're not going to put their best foot forward on something like this. You're right. They're going to put their best foot forward on something they can actually make money on. Because
it's a limited audience for sure.
Yeah, it's just the target audience for this book is very, very, very small. And that's not what you want to have with a crowdfunding campaign. You want as big as an audience as you can get.
Exactly. And I think the audience for the crowdfunded books is definitely swaying towards Comicsgate. I mean, we've had, I say we, I produce no comic books. I cannot call myself Comicsgate. They have had a number of releases just in the past few months of books that everyone was told you'll never see. Of course, the big thing everybody's definitely waiting for in the next month or two is going to be Cyberfrog, Blood Honey.
Yeah, did you see that page that he posted, I think yesterday or the day before?
I did, and I heard him say, I heard him say he's going back in now, and he's putting in the special victims unit stuff for the people who are getting drawn into the book. So he's got 12 of those that he's got to draw into the panels that exist for them. But this is going to be I'm not going to say it's going to be the biggest thing in the Comicsgate movement, because then it's like, okay, well, we've done Cyberfrog, now it's over. But it's definitely going to be a watershed.
Oh, for sure.
Getting Zach's books out, which for all intents and purposes started this snowball rolling down the hill, seeing them actually completed and distributed, crystallized everything in Comicsgate. Okay, these books are being produced. People are getting them. We paid $20, $25 for them. More if you wanted to get the special things that went with them. But they did happen, which means that phase one has proven there's a market.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how that market's going to evolve is up for grabs, because I've talked with, I sat down with Tim Lim and talked about this, and I talked with Mitch Breitweiser about it when I had him on the phone. The next step is being able to turn this into a repeatable, viable market. For graphic novels, which is what we've been getting more or less, this works. For a series, I'd be hard pressed to say I'd put down $25 an issue for a floppy.
Yeah, that's just not really viable. But like you said, the fact that these guys are putting together essentially graphic novels, a big one shot. That some of them do have an overarching story. I know some of Nasser's books. He's doing there's a couple issues coming out of the same thing, but like you said, they're bigger books. The quality, from what I've seen so far, is absolutely astounding. And then you've got all these fun tiers, and you got these perks and all this other fun stuff that you don't get in the comic shop really anymore. I mean, yeah, my shop still has like T-shirts and posters and action figures and all that fun stuff, but there's I'm trying to think of something. I know somebody was doing trading cards. Doug Tenaple. He's doing trading cards with his book. Like, that's just cool, and it's not much, but that's just a neat little thing to have.
It strikes me the biggest difference between one of these crowdfunded books and one of the mainstream books that come from the big two is that the crowdfunded person knows before it even goes to print that there is a guaranteed audience that is going to read this book. Whereas the big two are like, well, we've got this name writer and her stuff sells, or his stuff sells, and we've got this name character who's always sold in the past. Let's throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. And they've got enough arsenal in their publishing empire to be able to afford that and throw it at the wall and see what sells. But the retailer is the one who really gets stuck with it if it doesn't.
Yeah, the local comic shop is the one that gets hurt the most, because they're the ones that have to actually make the investment in the product and hope they can sell it. Pray to God, cross their fingers that they can get these books off the shelf.
Right, and I think if they could get the kind of guaranteed sale in advance, the way that this crowdfunding does, because basically Indiegogo has become the world's largest distributor of comic books right now. They've replaced the LCS. And if the LCS could find a way to say, hey, come through us to crowdfund this other guy's book, and then we will have it here to give to you when it's done, that might be the germ of an idea that I'm just kind of pulling out of my back pocket at the moment here.
Well, I had... when I'm working on launching my own, comic book universe, and one of my thoughts when I, get ready to do the campaign is I want to have some sort of like a retailer tier where you can get maybe 5-10 books for a decent price that you can, put on shelf and try to turn a profit for.
That's an excellent idea.
Yeah, and from what I've seen so far, I haven't seen any campaign that has done anything like that yet.
Yeah, because you'd go for multiple copies, which would bring your price point down. I'm thinking. So, hey, you are creating a comic book universe. Let's tangent off onto that for a little bit.
Okay.
What's going on with that? What's that look like?
So I've had this idea snowballing in my mind for about the last 10 years now, and it's just kind of been on paper since then, jotting down ideas here and there. Wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it, and it really wasn't until Comicsgate, and I seen like the way these crowdfunding campaigns go, that I started to think, well, actually, this could be viable for what I want to do. So I'm in the preliminary stages. I'm still looking for artists for the first book. But yeah, what I have planned, the first book is going to be a pretty I don't want to say generic, but it's going to be a standard superhero story, good old fashioned superhero story. Kind of in the vein of Spider-Man, that kind of feel, that
We
something fun.
need
And
fun.
this, yes, and that's what I really want to get back to, is fun comics. This is going to be an all ages, or teen-ish book. Definitely something that a 10-year-old or 12-year-old could pick up and be like, this is awesome. But it all kind of, everything, the whole idea revolves around Arch City, which is an analog for St. Louis, the area that I'm from. We know there's no superheroes really in the Midwest at all. They call the Midwest home. So I wanted to create something for the fan base in the Midwest, or anybody really. And the thing, the whole premise behind Arch City is there are super powered people in and around the world, but Arch City only has villains.
Oh, that's interesting.
For whatever reason, everybody who has acquired powers or tried to become a superhero has ended up on the bad side, ended up becoming a villain. And that's something that the first hero that I'm working on is going to have to deal with. He's trying to save his town, his neighborhood has come under attack, and so he wants to step up and do something. But at the same time, everybody who's tried to do something has always ended up on the dark side. So that's really where everything kind of starts, and it all just kind of snowballs out from there.
It was, I don't want to discourage you from going ahead with Arch City, because this is way old, but I think about 35 years ago, there was an independent book that was put out, which took place in Arch City. That was a St. Louis-based city, and it was the Arch City Archer. And it was kind of crudely drawn, but it was the era of, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters and such. Or if you had a mimeograph machine in a garage, you were in position to make a comic book. And it showed. The people who are doing indies today have been gifted with more technology than they do not know the blessings they have at this moment.
I even tried to look up to make sure that there was nothing beforehand, and I never did find anything.
Oh, I'm sure you won't even find it in Overstreet. I mean, this was really a micro run. It sold in the St. Louis area. I think it sold in a St. Louis shop because the guy who did it worked in the shop. So I picked it up a copy because, hey, my friend made a comic book here, and I put it in my stack. I'm sure I don't have it anymore because I've collected more white boxes and gotten rid of more white boxes and collected more white boxes.
It's a big cycle. It's a vicious cycle.
It's a huge cycle. I wish I could get to my white boxes now because I would sell them again because, as everyone can see in the description, Critical Blast is in the process of moving. It's not something we've chose to do. It is something we have to do. And we are falling short somewhere in the neighborhood of $6,000. So if you ever want to have something keep you up at night so you can work on things, just lay there and imagine that if you don't make $6,000 in the next 6 weeks, you're going to be homeless. That will do it. So we've got an IGG set up, an Indiegogo of our own. We are not making something that will come out later. We are having something up for sale that is here now. We have the copies of Alice's Journey Beyond the Moon, which has been mentioned by no less than Neil Gaiman on his blog as the only book he's ever known to escape Lucian's library.
Oh, wow.
And we also have copies of The Destroyer, Bully Pulpit, as well as The Destroyer Continental Divide. All of these books will come signed. We also have copies of Alice's Journey Beyond the Moon in hardcover, which was published by Telos in a limited edition 200 copy hardcover. And this has also been signed by the illustrator, Lucy Wright. So if you want to get hold of one of those, that's also on there. And then finally, we've got Gods and Services, which is our first foray into publishing, an anthology where we have some new voices and some established voices, all of them talented, telling stories about normal human beings who come into contact with gods of old and how they have them gods enter their life and try to make their lives better, whether they want it to be better or not. We've got all sorts of tiers in this where you can mix and match and combine. And we'd be just tickled to death if you found something in there you would like to read and get it out to us. We will ship this out to you ASAP. Of course, if we're in the middle of moving, I put the estimated shipping date in April, but I'm already turning around orders that have come in. So if you order now, anytime in March, more than likely you're going to get it anytime in March. So it'll be a 2-week period where we're moving, talking in faith there, where I won't be shipping anything, but afterwards I'll be shipping everything else out. So please.
Yeah, I plan on getting all 3 of these books. They all interest me very much.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. We're happy to have you on here streaming with us anytime. So when you get things moving on Arch City Comics and the Arch City universe, definitely let us know some more and we will get this out here. And of course, I'll be heading up to the St. Louis area when this is all done. So, you and I will be hopefully on opposite sides of the screen here.
Yeah, we'll be hopefully practically neighbors pretty soon.
Absolutely. Well, you know where Shiloh is, right?
Yeah, that's just south of me.
Yeah, well, that is the target. We have actually secured a house there, and by secured I mean we've filled out the paperwork and the fees for running the credit check and everything. So now I just have to give them the deposit, and that's where we start getting a little iffy. But they've got part of their deposit. The movers have part of their money, and we're going to make this happen. I'm pulling out all the stops on this. I've actually got a photo of something else I have, and I'm going to get with Ethan and Edwin and see how these auctions work out, because if it does work out, I've also got a copy of Green Lantern number 40 in a frame with museum glass. This is in very good condition, if not better. And when I say Green Lantern 40, I'm talking the Hal Jordan original series number 40, where he's on the cover with the Golden Age Green Lantern. And it is the story where we first ever learned that Krona, the rogue guardian, was responsible for the multiverse. At this point,
oh, wow, good issue there.
We knew that there was an Earth 2 because the Flash had just recently met the Golden Age Flash. And this was the first appearance in a Green Lantern comic book where the Golden Age Green Lantern, name is escaping me now for some reason.
Alan Scott.
Yeah, it's the first time Alan Scott appears in that book. And they have to go into a ring battle because that was the whole covers. Alan Scott's going to be replacing you. Turn in your ring. He's like, no, he's got to best me in battle. And spoiler alert, they swap rings because the bad guys expect the weaknesses. Back when comics were fun and everybody had a weakness and the ring didn't work on anything yellow and Alan Scott's ring didn't work on wood.
I forgot about that.
So they swapped them out. But it made, because then Alan Scott's biggest arch nemesis was Solomon Grundy, and he's just a big swamp plant. So
yeah, essentially.
And but yeah, this is where they say, oh, you're from Earth 2. Yes, we know how that all happened because here's the story. And it's the first time you see the big cosmic hand holding that swirl of stars.
The first appearance of the cosmic hand.
Yeah. And I don't know if Jeff Johns is just got a time machine or what, but the hand that holds the stars is exactly the same color, pale blue, as Dr. Manhattan's.
Well, isn't that just... You know what? That wouldn't surprise me that Johns knew that. He is one of those just absolute mega fans that I guarantee he knew that little detail or noticed that, like, that's kind of the same color as Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, and you know, that was one of my favorite theories back in 1986, because I go back that far at least, when Watchmen wrapped up and Dr. Manhattan says, you know, I've renewed an interest in human life. I think I'll go create some. I'm like, ooh, wouldn't it be cool if he created the DC universe? And then when this new Doomsday Clock comes back and they say that Dr. Manhattan's here, I'm like, yes, he did. I was right all along. But apparently, no, some other goddess created the DC universe, and that's all happening in Justice League. Apparently, I don't know. I can't keep up with Justice League. It doesn't make any sense to me right now.
I'm quite a few issues behind on that myself, so I can't validate anything there.
There's something cosmic happening with the source wall. Almost called it the fourth wall, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it's the same thing.
That is essentially the same thing.
Yeah, and it's leaking, but you know, it's like, everybody go to the source wall. There's a problem. Okay, story's over. It's still leaking, but we'll get back to it. We got other things to deal with. I'm like, no, finish this story up.
Yeah, this is kind of a big deal, guys. You broke the thing that holds the universe together, and you're just gonna put a Band-Aid on it and leave it.
Yeah, well, you know, the Joker's robbing the bank, and Luther's got a bomb. All of that has to be taken care of before we can just get the universe put back in order.
You know, I will say this, though, about Snyder's Justice League run that I've read so far, is it has been a lot of fun. It's back to that, bombastic, crazy, wild comic book stories that really don't make a whole lot of sense, but they're fun to read.
Yeah, I mean, when I do read them, they are fun. I don't know. I get that, because I was there when Grant Morrison took over the Justice League, and I'm like, whoa, this is, cinematic madness happening here. Your attention is required.
Oh, he's saying hi.
Hi.
Say hi, Lincoln. No, I don't want your cookie.
I'll take the cookie. I'm hungry.
It's just a vanilla wafer. It's not anything fancy.
Oh, those are the best, but if you really want to make them taste good, you got to layer them over top of banana pudding.
Well, yeah, but I'm not giving him banana pudding to walk around the house with.
That would be a big mistake.
That'd be a huge mistake. He gets very little condiments. He is not. He'll be 2 in May.
Awesome. Mine's 11.
Oh wow.
It doesn't get any better.
That's what I keep hearing.
Just goes downhill, man. He's 11 going on 30. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm doing this if that's all right with you. Like,
yeah, gotta love that preteen attitude.
Oh my God, Disney Channel's got a lot to answer for. But yeah, the having comics be fun again. Snyder does have that element, but I think the story is just so friggin' wide, sweeping, and it's something that should be Crisis on Infinite Earths. But when they did Crisis on Infinite Earths, it had a lot more editorial control over it, so that it was focused. And I think we have the story going on, but we keep losing focus on these other events that pop up. Whereas this should have been, a 12-issue maxi series called The Source Wall, or if they wanted to get political about it, No Wall, because we can play off the whole build the wall concept.
Oh boy, that'd be something.
And then have all of this other ancillary stuff happen in the other titles, like COIE did, and it all still tie in, even if only tangentially, but it all had a focus and it was all cohesive and it all made sense.
What I attribute to that is the decompression of comic books.
Yeah,
is we tell these decompressed stories now. Every series is just these decompressed issues that they take 5 to 10 minutes to read, and nothing really happens. You get 2 steps in the overall story.
Well, that's because
Tom King pitched a 100-issue series to DC, and they just drooled. They were like, "Oh my God, a 100-issue run! People love long runs. Oh my gosh!" And then he started publishing it, and all the fans were like, "What is this?"
Yeah, because they quit writing comic books. They started writing graphic novels released in chapters.
Yes.
So they have no interest in starting a story, on page 1 and finishing it on page 22, or even reaching some kind of climactic cliffhanger moment. The best stories out there never went more than 3 issues. And if they did, they became their own miniseries because it was really an event if it had to go that long.
Exactly.
I was thinking the other day, talking about the fun that comics used to be, about the old Brave and the Bold series. When it was Batman and whomever they wanted to team up with him.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time when Dick Giordano and Jim Aparo were doing this story. And you sound a lot younger than me. I'm 50. I'm going on 52 in May.
Yeah, I'm 31. You got a couple of years on me.
Yeah, this is sadly before your time, but you can get them in the back issues. But it was somewhere in the 160s, 170s of the series that it would be Batman and Elongated Man. And you just, first of all, it was a story started in 1 issue and completed in 1 issue. But you went through it and you looked at the panels. And in one panel, there's a shadow on the wall that looks like the Creeper. Well, what is that there for? Well, that was your clue as to who was going to be the guest star in the next issue.
Oh, that's awesome.
And there was a Christmas issue. I can't remember who he was teamed up with, but there was a guy laid out in an alley among the trash cans, and sticking trash cans was a green arrow. And that was
clever.
just fun to look for those things and say, hey, I know who's going to be in the next book, because, there was no diamond, there was no previews. You were lucky to find these at your grocery store, drugstore, 7-Eleven.
Yeah, you were lucky to find the next issue. Yeah,
exactly. Well, I actually had a bit of an advantage because I was growing up in Sparta, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you know where that's at.
I do.
But again, you probably don't know that in the 70s, every comic book in the world was published there.
In Sparta?
In Sparta, World Color Press. And once a year, they had World Color Press Day, and they had a parade in downtown Sparta, a town of 9,000 people, where I went to high school. And the parade, they had people dressed as superheroes. It was the first cosplay that was really going on. But the impact of that was that everybody who worked at the plant, all the overruns, and all the returns, well, guess where they went? They went home with the people who worked there, who just threw them into their yard sales or gave them away to neighborhood kids. So I didn't have any place I could buy comics in a 50-mile radius, but I knew whose door to knock on. Oh, it looks like you've muted yourself there. I'm only going to guess.
Yeah, that was the boy.
I figured that.
That's a really awesome advantage, actually. That you could just door knock for comic books.
Yeah.
I had no idea. No, I had no idea that was in Sparta. Because I grew up in Belleville, so I mean it's not very far from there.
No, definitely not very far. Hop, skip, and a jump. And then they started looking at going. It all changed with New Titans #1. When they went and did the parallel series, they had the new Teen Titans, the George Perez, Marv Wolfman godsend of a comic book series that we need to have happen again today. And when it got so far, they said, we're going to do 2 Teen Titans books. The next one's going to start at #1, and we're going to print it on Baxter paper. Well, this was the first time that they started printing the regular books on this enhanced paper. It was a higher grade, higher quality, and it allowed for the printer to take the bleed all the way to the edge of the page. So we lost the gutters that were surrounding it all the time. Never been seen before. And if you're going to try something new artistically, having George Perez on board for that, especially back in his prime, you were just printing money.
I was going to say that's a very wise choice.
Yeah, so you had 2 new Teen Titans books every month for that first year, and then as soon as New Titans hit number 13, then New Titans #1 became reprinted in the standard format, so that if you were just getting the standard books, you didn't lose any continuity. You basically had you were reading a year ahead if you were getting both books.
Oh, that's interesting.
but they had gorgeous painted covers, just to show, what could come out. And that was when we started getting books like Camelot 3000, Mike W. Barr, another awesome, fantastic series. But the point there was that to get that Baxter paper and to get that printing, they had to move the printing to Canada. So they started splitting up, the good big books were coming out of Canada, and then the ones that were still regular floppies were coming out of Sparta. I don't know where they're being printed today. I think they're all being printed out of Canada today.
I'm pretty sure everything comes out of Canada now.
And I guess that's only because they haven't figured out how to print them in China yet. But, well, we have meandered quite a bit.
We have. This has been a good conversation.
I've had fun. I think we actually reviewed a comic book somewhere in here.
We did. We did talk about Astonishing Gators a little bit there. But that was kind of boring, so we started talking about other stuff.
Started talking about good comics.
Yeah, that's right.
God, I'm such a boomer now, I guess, because I'm the old guy telling the new crowd, back in my day, boy, did we have comics.
No, I know, and I'm just here like a little boy around the campfire going, oh wow,
yeah,
there was a golden age of comic books.
Yeah, and believe it or not, it was in the 70s. Oh man, now I know how you're feeling how I felt when I was your age and I was being told the stories of, oh, I had all those comics that were only 10 cents and my mother threw them out.
Yeah, now those comics are worth so much money.
I could have retired if I had kept that Superman book. My wife even tells me this story that her father, her father adopted her, so he was already in his 40s when she was just a baby. He gave her one day his little army trunk to play in and play with, and the things that were in it that obviously weren't standard issue army, things that he had been given when he went overseas. And she said in there was a coloring book that had already been colored, so I just colored some more in it. It was Captain America.
Oh.
Yeah, a World War II era Captain America.
Oh.
I'm like, why did you do that?
Oh.
Because
that hurts. Ooh, that hurts my heart.
She was a girl and she had colors, and her dad had no idea, so why not? Like, that was your dad's retirement right there.
Yep, it was.
But oh man, well listen, Adam, I better let you get. You got somebody calling for your attention there, I'm sure, and he's probably getting hungry now at this time.
I was gonna say it is almost dinner time, so yeah, it's been great chatting with you, bud.
Same here, man. We will do this again. Reminder to the listeners, come back next Saturday. We're going to have Michael Tierney, the comic book guy. He has 2 shops in Little Rock, Arkansas. He has the comic book store in Little Rock, and he has Collector's Edition in North Little Rock. So he will be coming back for his regular report on what's happening in the stores, what's selling, what's not, and his new release of the latest Tarzan story written by him and Edgar Rice Burroughs together, which would make it a new Edgar Rice Burroughs Tarzan book. So we hope you'll come back for that. Adam, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming by, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. Subscribe to Art City Comics. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Subscribe and hit that bell for notification.